obviously is getting busier out there. We can certainly tell that by the number of people who signed up today. I'll say it one more time. My name is Andrew, and I'm with Alliance Solutions Group. Our phone number here, feel free to give us a call if we can help answer any questions following this presentation, or if you'd like to learn a bit more about how we can help your business. Today we're going to talk about some of the benefits of having a fully integrated project management and accounting solution. And so before we do that, thought I'd introduce ourselves to you all. And so just a few things about Alliance Solutions Group. We're basically a consulting firm. Our entire focus is on the construction and real estate market. So whether you're working with people in our California office or our Texas offices or here in Florida, everyone you encounter is going to have some sort of real-life exposure to the construction and real estate industry. And being that we have that focus on the industry, we have built out our own portfolio of solutions to help our clients really streamline their workflow. As I just mentioned a few minutes ago, we do pride ourselves on being local to our clients, so therefore you can expect to see offices in California, Texas, and Florida. And our client base has reached actually over 3,800 active clients. And we're really proud of that, considering the recession we just are kind of digging ourselves out of. We have been able to really maintain and help a large number of construction and real estate companies improve their business. Some things about Sage, it's interesting. Sage is a publicly traded company, and within their development efforts, they've got a whole suite of different industry-focused solutions. Sage 100, which is what we're going to talk about today. Sage 300, which used to be called Timberline. There's even an estimating solution. And one of the things, and one of their efforts that they're taking underway right now is this whole construction anywhere concept, where it's a browser-based solution that's going to really tie back in to the back office and give your people in the field not only access to reports, but down the road also streamline the workflow. So we're really excited to see how Sage continues to improve that solution. You can learn more about all of their different solutions by visiting sage-job-ready.com. We encourage you to go out there and check it out. And to put it in perspective, the reach of the Sage client base, this is a great graphic that shows, that basically over 400,000 projects per year are being managed with one of our solutions. And you can see the different other statistics there. But what that means to you all on the phone is odds are either someone on the phone right now or someone that you all are doing work with is managing their business with one of our solutions. And that is really compelling. So again, as I mentioned, the product that we're going to use as an example to get our points across today is Sage 100. Now we're going to be focusing mainly on project management, but I think it is important to understand that there are other components to Sage 100 that, depending on your niche in the industry, you can leverage to streamline the different things in your business. And again, the phone number is 888-559-9540, and feel free to give us a call. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the software. And so what we're doing right now is we're looking at Sage 100, and you really can't have an integrated project management solution with your accounting unless you really have a single solution. These days you hear the terms best of breed and other things like that, and what Sage 100 has done pretty effectively is really publishing features that fit the project management and operations side of the house, and then tie those things in with a built-in back office or accounting solution. So when a customer logs into Sage 100, one of the things you'll notice is these are all the different areas that are available to work with within the software. Now, some of these are modules, and we can go over that on a different day or a different session. But the point I'll make is that we're going to go into a single application and really try to manage as much of the life cycle of a project as possible. Security, of course, is going to control who can go where. We definitely are cognizant of the fact that if we're going to extend this out to the project management group, that perhaps there are things that we do not want them to access. And so security is going to control that. So although I can see these different options, does not necessarily mean I have access to them. Another thing that Sage did in order to extend the software to people like project managers is they really put an emphasis on ease of use. So whether I'm more comfortable using a like Windows-based navigation and kind of going through this Explorer type tree, I can actually hide that and instead leverage these process maps, which is basically what we're going to go through today, because I kind of built one specifically for the purposes of this webinar. But just understand here at the tabs at the top give you little shortcuts to particular areas of the system that might meet your specific needs. And these process maps can be standardized to your company. So although in this sample data, this might be how the project process map appears, you do have the capability to go ahead and modify exactly how that works within your organization. In addition to that, when you start pulling up reports in a system like this, it's one thing to have your data integrated. That's certainly important. So now you can get things like a work in process schedule very seamlessly out of the software. But in terms of ease of use, when you get into this level of product, something that Sage did here is they really made these reports interactive in nature. So when I'm looking at a high-level report, such as a work in process schedule, or what we call a bonding report, I have the capability to actually drill into the detail that I'm interested in investigating. So say, for example, I'm looking at this particular project. I see that my costs are a little bit higher than I anticipated. I can drill into that. That's called a drill down. Pretty much everyone on the phone is probably used to seeing that. What we also give you the capability to do is drill all the way into that source transaction, in this case, the AP entry that substituted the cost on the job. And one of the features in the system, when you talk about integration with project management, that's great, is the capability to scan documents or pictures or any supporting documentation to this specific record and have it be a mouse click away. You think about that for a minute. I'm looking at an industry standard report, work in process schedule. I see something that just doesn't seem right. I drill into it. I continue to drill into that detail and actually have access to my fingertips of the supporting documentation that validates this actual entry. When I'm done investigating that, I can just literally go right back to where I started and maybe look at some other key performance indicators. So at any rate, they really did a great job not just providing you reports, but giving you the capability to interact with the data in the reports in a meaningful manner. So that's another just fundamental feature of the software. Another thing that really relates to project management that things I want to hit on before workflow is the capability to communicate. So again, if I'm trying to get, say, a project manager on board with using, our accounting system to do project management activities, we want to make it easy for them to communicate. So an example might be, say, a change order. So, when I go into a change order, if you think about how the average workflow is for a construction company, especially someone using QuickBooks, I might be going into Word, entering my change order. Then I need to print it to a PDF because I don't want it modified, so I print it to a PDF. I have to save it somewhere. Then I need to go to my Excel change order log. Need to update that. Then I need to open up my Outlook. I need to create an email to get that to someone, and then I have to navigate through my folder structure to find that very change order I just saved as a PDF, attach it, send it. And I sure as heck hope they don't respond to it because that creates a whole nother workflow I have to manage. What's great about this is when we built the capabilities for the reporting that I just showed you, we also took time to leverage current technologies such as Microsoft Excel and Outlook. So, for example, this is just a sample change order. We're going to go into the detail here in a little bit, but the moral of the story is I need to get this out the door, this particular change order that looks like this. Well, I can do that by just clicking this Outlook button here. And when I do that, it that quick converts it to a PDF, attaches it to my Outlook email. I can get that to the person that I need to very quickly. And I can also, when Ashley finally responds to that, 6 months later, I can drag and drop her response right in here using that attachments feature that I just demonstrated when we were looking at that report. So it's not just AP invoices, it's a whole host of things. So communication is something that we really help make a lot easier for our project team. Okay, so those are just a couple of fundamental things, and just to quickly recap, security is going to control who can go where. The reports, regardless of what report I'm pulling, is interactive. We have the capability to quickly communicate by driving documents out into the field using our Outlook integration. And so let's kind of go through a day in the life of a project now. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this menu. So we've got a new project that's come online. And so if you happen to use our estimating module, what's great about that is that information will flow seamlessly into the rest of the application. But some of our clients choose to use their own estimating, which is fine. So for those particular customers, they would come in and create a budget on the fly. And so that's done here. And when we go create our budget, I think what's really important to understand is we're not going to paint you into a corner and make you use cost codes that we have defined. In other words, the cost code structure that you see here is just sample data, and you, depending on your trade, whether you're a home builder, painting contractor, or commercial GC, you can define your cost codes that make sense to your business. You can organize those cost codes into divisions, and then enter in your budget not only by cost code, but also by cost type. Now, when we talk about integrating this back into accounting, what's really great is we're entering this one time. We create that job one time. We indicate if this job is going to have retainage. So if I'm a PM who does a progress billing, it's going to capture the retainage amount. If I'm on the accounting side, it's going to properly report retainage. That's a big hassle for QuickBooks users. In this system, we're going to properly manage that. So again, we're kind of marrying the two workflows together there, and everyone benefits from that. Looks like I got a question here. Let me just go ahead and answer that. Okay, good question. Okay, so the question was, do we have the capability to lock the budget down? That's basically, I believe, what they were going after there. The answer to that is yes. So, if I create this budget for this new job, and I want to control who can modify this budget, Maybe it's our company policy that all changes to the budget can only occur through a change order. That's what this lock edit button means. And you'll see that through my demo. You'll see this button. This is look but don't touch. It is a security enabled field. So you will have the capability to do that. Good question. At any rate, once this budget is created, and whether or not you choose to lock that budget, it is doing the budget in the, I guess, accounting and project management system that truly allows you to ultimately to get the reports that look like, something like this, a job summary report. This is kind of the quintessential standard job cost report. People call it the budget versus actual. But again, remember, we're seamlessly pulling this in from accounting. I, as a PM, I don't need to wait days or weeks or once a month to get this or keep it in a spreadsheet. I get it real time, right now, when I want it. You'll also notice that it brings in the change orders too. Let's see, it looks like we got another question. All right. Well, let's see. Okay, so let's keep going on. So that's the report there. Someone had asked how how friendly are we with Chrome? So the answer to that question is we're not a browser-based system. So although you might see my Chrome button down here, that's just because I happen to have two monitors up. And so on one of my other monitors, I have Chrome. We're a client-server-based system, but it's still a great question because for those who want to have our software hosted, we do provide hosting services for clients who want it. The website to learn more about that is asgeasycloud.com. So great question. Thank you for asking it. Our software can be hosted, and that's through asgeasycloud.com. Thanks for the question on that. All right. All right. Okay, so next item. Let's see. All right. So once we've got our budget done and we're now able to get our reporting going a little bit more streamlined, you can kind of see the benefits of that. The next step in the workflow, though, is we need to buy out our job. And so really there's two items in the buyout process, correct? There's your purchase order and your subcontract. So I did see a few trade contractors on the phone, so I am going to go ahead and talk a little bit about POs. So bear with me for you paper GCs out there. What we're going to go through is just an example purchase order. First of all, they are numbered. You can have those POs numbered sequentially. They're tied to a vendor, tied to a job. Now, when you think of vendor compliance, a lot of times people think of tracking certificates of insurance, and absolutely we can do that. So just throw that out there right now. When I drill into this vendor, if they have certificates of insurance, we can go ahead and track those and give pop-up warnings if they're expired, etc. But how about also if we need to make sure that this vendor's purchase order, we don't get invoiced against POs that have already been closed out. A lot of times customers have to manually go back and close out a PO after it's been fulfilled. Or worse yet, what if I get a partial receipt on a PO and it's not meant to be closed out, yet our system closes it out anyways? That's even worse. Here in our system, we're very understanding of both sides of that workflow. And so we won't close out a PO that's in process. You don't need to worry about that. If you look over here in this to date column, what that's telling us is what accounts payable invoices have been accrued against this purchase order to date. And in fact, if you're a purchasing agent, I can get an invoice log of all the invoices very quickly that have been applied to the PO without even having to go pull a report on it. How's that for integration? In addition to that, I can also, once this has been fulfilled, I can actually choose to go ahead and have the purchase order automatically close out for me, so we've got the proper controls in place. And then in addition to that, I mentioned about locking down that budget. Well, as we go through the buyout process, what we certainly don't want to do is we're issuing committed costs out on the job. We certainly don't want to exceed our budget before we get billed on it. And so you'll see this over budget warnings. So how great is that? You know, we can come in and actually, based on your specific workflows, determine if we're going to have a soft stop, you know, like a warning. Hey, we want to be warned. And what's our tolerance threshold we want to have? Or do we want to have a hard stop if we exceed the budget, and basically not allow you to save this entry if you don't meet certain criteria? So not only are we going to, you know, help you protect the life of the PO with some integration, even at this early stage of the job, we are protecting your budget, which is great from a PM. If I'm in charge of doing my buyout, you know, sometimes I don't have access to the budget. And here, it's a living, breathing thing. So the last thing is, if I needed to get this PO out the door, like I mentioned earlier, we can leverage, you know, that Outlook integration and get this PO, which you could put your logo up here, out the door very quickly. You know, we'll keep picking on Ashley. We'll get that PO out the door very quickly. And again, if you know, if we had a quote perhaps or something that validated this PO, you know, I can attach it. Okay. No questions on that, so we're going to go ahead and keep on talking about subcontracts. So the other side of the coin here is actually issuing our subcontracts. So when we issue a subcontract, first things first, it's going to be assigned to a job and to a vendor and to a contract number. I already mentioned the vendor compliance things, you know, doing the certificates of insurance. If we happen to be, you know, one of those companies where I'm tired of getting my subs lining up the door on Fridays to pick up their checks, we can actually set up subs that are willing to participate in the process. We can do an ACH payment to them. We can actually create the ACH payment file to upload to the bank to hopefully cut down on the number of subs who show up on Friday for their payment. In addition to that, I talked really quickly about retainage. It's not really a project management issue per se, but if I am the PM buying out the job and I want to hold retainage on a new subcontractor that I've got, I can in fact do that. So I can choose this on a per subcontract basis. Here's where the schedule of values is recorded. And then, you know, again, just kind of emphasizing the integration points. You know, if we move along the life cycle of the contract and we issue change orders to the sub-perfection windows, as they are approved, it's automatically going to update this column for me. So in other words, I'm not manually recording this. It's automatically updating this. So any time that I want to look at my subcontract here for perfection windows, I'm looking at a current subcontract value. There's no mystery there. And I can look at it in a summary fashion. And I'll mention this. We're not only worried about approved change orders, we're also worried about open change orders. So we've got a back charge there. I noticed someone had asked that I know who's in the meeting today to cover back charges. Do we do that? Yes, we do. So if I wanted to see that open change order, I just click the change order log and boom, there's my complete change order log for this subcontractor on this job. We're not having to revert back to Excel. And with the drill down capability, I can just drill into it. I can say, hey, what happened here? Drill into that change order, quickly identify that we are going to self-perform the corrective work. They're disputing it, so on and so forth. So anyway, if again, like I mentioned with the POs, I could go ahead and see if there's any invoices associated with this contract, drill into them, and of course pull up, a copy to their invoice. So it's not just reports. You'll find that you can interact with the data in the system, whether it's a report or a data entry screen. All right. Oh, one more question here. All right. Oh, yeah, so if the sub had signed a subcontract agreement, you could go ahead and scan it. That's kind of what I was saying with the attachments, and I could reference it here. So actually, I think this is a copy of one. Yeah. So there's no language on this, but I think you get the idea. So yes. And of course, the benefit of this from a reporting perspective is what we consider to be committed cost reporting. So, now I can get, reports that are a little bit more meaningful to me as a project manager, because maybe it's not just about the budget, it's also about the committed costs on my job. And so we can get that real time out of the software. I can drill in to those committed costs, and we even indicate if there are change orders. Here are the billings. Continue to dig in deeper, see who the vendor was, so on and so forth. So really powerful reporting. So when you think about it, the budgets help us do a more effective buyout, which gives us better reporting. And of course, it's not just about cost. It's about running the job too. So let's talk a little bit about schedules. So we do a very, what I call simple schedule out of our system. Look, some people like to use Microsoft Project and P6, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. Just understand, included in the basic system, we include a fundamental project schedule that you can choose to use within a single interface. So it's up to you. It is available. And the way it works is you basically pick your project. You indicate the schedule tasks that you're going to perform on the job. And what's great about this, again, it's user-defined. So you guys define how you're going to run your job. And then we identify the number of days that's in duration. The task type, now what the task type does is that's what color codes your Gantt chart. This guy right here. So that way I can quickly call out certain activities that may require certain attention. We do track a official start date, which kicks off your start date, your final date, your finish date, that is. We calculate float. A lot of people want to know, can you do an original versus actual? Yes, you can. In addition to that, one of the benefits of using our schedule is the fact that we can leverage that single database of vendors, and we can identify them and assign them as resources to the schedule. So it's not just about, tracking your predecessors. We can also track our resources. So when I go into this Gantt chart, I can quickly see, what's going on. I can very quickly and easily, change the duration of an activity tied to the critical path. So we are capable of doing things, even making a predecessor be an activity on a completely different project. So it is possible to go ahead and make a predecessor, on another job, tie it into your critical path, which is real nice. And then, of course, other than, of course, printing a Gantt chart and all that kind of stuff, we can also get out a subcontract notice. So, a lot of clients will use the same sub on numerous jobs, like maybe in this case, Sampson Electrical. So, I surely want to keep them in tune with what my expectations are and, in terms of when I want them on the job and mobilized. So we actually can produce a project notice to Sampson Electrical, for these projects, these activities. Here's your start and finish date, and we can fire that off to them right away. So it really does, help, again, streamline the communication. So that's scheduling. In addition to that, change orders happen on the job. Now, I hit on this just briefly a little bit ago, but just to kind of further dig into change orders, what's great about this is they really put a lot of focus on making the change order process easy to complete. We go to one screen, and we can manage the whole workflow from a single screen. So I indicate the job, the description, the change order number for the client, the reason, we track some dates. But look here, everyone hears the term potential change order or COR, PCO. We track change orders in their various stages right here under the status. We use, approved, open, review, disputed, and rejected. Of course, void. So the point here is, since the only way our contract will be updated is if it's approved, I can log a change order as soon as there's potential for change in the job. So we get visibility of this change order. And when we talk about integrating project management back to accounting, now accounting can see open changes when you look at things from, say, an executive level dashboard. I might want to call out my outstanding change orders that are more than 30 days old. So executives can now get quick reporting on that by leveraging a dashboard, because it ties right back into the project management. In addition to that, we need to go ahead and communicate this. So in this side of the grid, we're telling the client what we're going to do, and if we need to put in a scope of work, we can go ahead and place a long-winded scope of work explaining what we're going to do for the client, and that prints just on the client's change order. Over here, we're going to indicate the downstream impact of this change order. So how does this impact my sub and my budget? What's interesting here is you are not required to reflect a subcontract change, because sometimes that's not the case. So if I just had a budget change, I just indicate the budget. In this example, we're saying that we're increasing Perfection Windows contract. And we will go ahead and issue them a change order. So although it's change order 2 to the sub, it's change order 3 to the client, which is really nice. We also track their status. So it gives the PM the capability to maybe negotiate with the sub after the client's approved the change order, or vice versa. So I got one question here. Okay. So yeah, this is what the change order looks like. So, out of the box, it's a pretty professional looking change order. You can use our form design tool and modify it, but I'd say it's pretty nice out of the box. And again, once it's approved, I can quickly drill in and see how it's impacted my contract summary. So that's kind of change orders. And we can do things like change order logs. I can come in here and maybe pull a prime contract audit because I've got all this stuff going on with my client, and I've got a meeting coming on, and I want to make sure they understand where we're at on the contract. So I can quickly pull this up and say, look, here's your base contract. Here's your approved contract versus your open contract. Here are the billings against them. So we can quickly communicate to our client not only where they are to date with the contract, but kind of the potential risk they have for open changes. So we can maybe get those approved quicker and get paid quicker. Same thing with the downstream impact of these. You know, if I've got a sub who's disputing maybe where they're at on a contract from a dollars and cents perspective, I as a PM, I don't need to go dig stuff up with accounts payable or have them give me things. I can quickly just pull up an audit on them and quickly get educated on where this sub is at, dollars and cents wise, on my job. It helps me make better decisions on how to communicate to that sub. So again, you know, I can see the base contract, you know, approved and open change orders, what they billed us, what's due, all those kind of things. Also, we need to get paid on the job. You know, these days more and more PMs are actually being kind of the quasi account manager. And so they need to, you know, sometimes they take care of the billing to the client. So, you know, you have the capability to come in here and do a progress billing is what we call it, or some clients will call it a AIA billing. So we can come in here and indicate the job and place a schedule of values. You might be wondering how we got the change orders listed here. Because of the integration, I can actually bring in automatically through this little update button any approved change orders and have them brought in when I do my billing, so I don't have to go back and look for them. If they're approved, I can bring them in. Once that schedule of values is created, all I need to do when it's that time of the month to go ahead and bill is indicate my percent of complete, or if I'm not really comfortable doing it that way and I want to bill for a specific dollar amount, I can do that too. I do that here. And then the invoice format out of the system is, you know, as close as we're probably allowed to mimic the AIA. Of course, again, you can leverage our form design tool and do what you will there. 702, 703. And you don't have to post this right away. You know, if you're negotiating what your actual percent of complete is and you're going back and forth with the owner's rep, the engineer, or the GC, depending on where you are in the food chain, I can choose when I actually post this and actually bill it, officially make it an invoice. So there's a whole workflow here. And what also is nice for those of you doing it in Excel, I don't have to worry about doing a save as every month. So I don't, like, you know, type over my percent of complete and screw up all the formulas. Each application for payment in this system is its own billing record. So therefore, if I need to go back and look at the previous application for payment, you know, I can do that very easily. So you're always given a new transaction for each month's billing. Makes it really easy to manage. And that's progress billing. And so all of this workflow basically files into, you know, a bonding report. And I showed that at the very beginning. I'll show it real quickly again. Here's kind of what that looks like. And again, now I think you can kind of appreciate how we can produce a work in process, because we're really doing all the fundamentals that's taking place through the job life cycle to give this to the stakeholders. Now that's the kind of the cost side of the equation. We also have this module in the system called document control, and you know, I thought I'd just show a couple of, you know, popular features in it today. I certainly encourage you to reach out to your territory manager and get a little bit deeper into that with them. Let's see here. Let's see if I've got a question. Oh, here's the question. So I can create my own list of WBS codes, but if I don't want to, what do you? Oh, another good question. Okay, so I don't know if everyone on the screen can see that, but great question there. The question was that, hey, it's great, I can build my own cost codes, but what if I want to start with something? The sample data does include a standard set of cost codes that are kind of structured around the 16 division cost code structure. Also, when you start working with a consultant, typically they will also have examples of cost codes that they may provide you as a point of reference to see if those might be applicable to your business. So we've got a lot of options there. Either you can leverage the sample ones that are bundled with the software, talk to your consultant, or build your own. So a couple different options. Good question. Okay, so as I was mentioning, the document control's got a couple of different features in it. I thought I'd hit 3 of the more popular ones, starting with RFIs. So again, ease of use. That's the message of the day. So, you know, we just want to do the fundamentals here. So in the RFI form, you'll notice there's lots of white space, lots of drop downs, pick the vendor, if that's who I'm sending it to, or a client, the job, tracking the status, tracking the dates, putting the question in, and actually what we can do here is print out a very attractive looking RFI form. We can get that out. You already understand how we can get that out the door. But again, that's one half of the workflow. So of course, an RFI typically gets responded to. So how do we manage that response? Well, if we're using Outlook email, I can drag and drop the Outlook email that might be a response to this RFI also as an attachment. And what's interesting about that is if there's any attachments in that email, they're going to come into the system as well. So any supporting documentation or pictures will be included with that email, and it's stored in our database. So, we can manage that workflow from an RFI. We could do daily field reports. So daily field reports, we can log, which employees were doing work. That information will go over to payroll. We can track what subs were on the job, including their employee head count. So if there might be, manpower requirements that I have placed on my subs, and I want to log, how many people from that company is on the job site, I can indicate that. If we use our equipment module for a heavy highway, and I want to allocate equipment usage to the job, I could do that. Track any safety incidents, meeting minutes, those kind of things. And, at the end of the day, if I get into a dispute, I can pull all that data together and produce a nice summary of that out of the software. So, when you host the software with someone like ASG Easy Cloud, that really makes this kind of powerful, because then if I have an internet connection, then I can go ahead and maybe access this from a computer or something. And with the continued improvements with Construction Anywhere, it's probably likely that that tool at some point in time will have daily field reports on that as well. So you're going to have some options there. We can do a punch list, and so of course that's important. I think what's really great about this is the fact that we're creating this laundry list of items that need to be done, but more importantly, I can produce an actual walkthrough sheet where someone can go ahead and indicate that something's been completed and sign off on it. Then of course you can scan that or take a picture of it and attach it to the record. So there's many different things we can do here. So I wanted to leave some time for some questions. I see I've gotten a couple more. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. Again, I do encourage you to reach out to our or your territory manager if you want to get a deeper dive into this. I know there's clients on the phone, so I did try to go a little deeper for their benefit, but you're welcome to call your territory manager. One of the questions that I've got here is certificate. Yeah, so letters to vendors with expired certificates of insurance. It's an interesting question. So I did show on the subcontract side when we pull up a vendor, and by the way, I'm just showing it from subcontracts because that's just a project management place to go find it. But if you just go look up the vendor anywhere, you'll be able to see any certificates of insurance. It is going to warn you if it is expired throughout the software, but in terms of any letters, it's really more related to accounting, and there does happen to be a standard letter in the system. It's in accounts payable. It's under vendor documents, and it's a pre-built letter. It seems like I get this question on every webinar we do, but yes, it is there. It's under accounts payable, vendor documents, expired certificates letter, and here it is. And of course, you can change the language on it. So yeah, you can get a letter out of the system. I guess like a dunning letter. That's where that would be. Let's see. Looks like that was the only other question I had. So let me go ahead and do this. Pull this back up. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know it's getting busier out there, and so I know more than ever how much of a time commitment this is for you all. So we do appreciate that. This is the phone number to reach out to us. I encourage you guys to do that. Any questions that come up, give us a call. Thanks again, everyone, and have a, let's see, it looks like I got one last question. Let's see here. Oh, can I process payments through the system? Yes. Good last second question there. Glad you caught me. Just about to sign off. Yeah, payments on payables and receivables. Again, it's a full-blown accounting system. So whether you're, today, again, the emphasis was on integrating project management, but at the end of the day, it is going to replace your back office accounting system. So whether you're printing checks through AP or receiving money in AR, we can certainly handle that. So thank you. Yep. Okay, so we will let you all get on with your afternoon. Again, if there's any questions, please let us know, and have a great afternoon.